Guys, when Trump tells you what he intends to do, believe him and understand that none of this is coming just from him. His Christmas message was basically telling everybody to go to hell. Any of his critics, foreign and domestic. He literally said, just, to hell with all of you, go to hell. It's just the guy who's going to be sworn into office in a few weeks. He did the same thing last year. He's testing us. He's mostly, I think, testing people that are his allies or his subjects. I think he wants to see. I mean, he expects people like me, he expects the Democrats to slam him for it. I think he wants to see if any Republicans do or if they defend this. He pushes the envelope. And he's doing this a lot because he's planning something big as soon as he's sworn in. He wants to know exactly who is malleable, exactly who will just roll over and not give him any guff, who will then support him. The people like the Lindsey Grahams of the world. So he's doing this to test everybody on his side, to make sure that they're still on his side. And he gets his instructions, a lot of them from Putin. Remember before he went out and they did the smoke bombs in the crowd of the Black Lives Matter protesters, and he held the Bible upside down in front of the church after walking across the street from the White House? He had just gotten off the phone with Putin, who instructed him. He says, you got to dominate the streets. And that was when Trump was asking if we could just shoot these people, our own people, Americans, if the military or law enforcement could just shoot them. That's what he wanted to do. And at that time, there were still some people in his administration who were there to kind of hold him back and keep a check on him. Right? We're not going to have that this time. He's learned his lesson. Now he only has to have people who are unqualified for the jobs, who are fellow criminals, who are unethical, immoral idiots, who will commit crimes for him, take their cut. People who are willing to lie, cheat, steal, kill for him. That's why all these names are being put out there. They're really bad people. A lot of it is just decoy. Okay, get rid of these people, and then we'll let the other egregious ones slide through, because he knows that Republican senators might be able to oppose one or two of his nominees for the cabinet, but not 5, 6. So it's a game for him. And he gets his instructions by Vladimir Putin. A couple of the latest things that are very Putin-like are, of course, threatening to make Canada the 51st state. Now, how do you do that without just a military invasion and brute force? Canada is not available to be made a part of the United States. And if they were available and it was up to them, who would want to be a part of this shithole country? So the only way that Canada becomes a part of the United States is by military force. And don't think that Trump won't do that if he knows the military will commit atrocities for him. And if they don't, if there are individuals in the military who won't, court-martialed, shot and killed, he'll do it. Don't doubt this. He openly talks about having people shot. He openly talked about, having Liz Cheney face a firing squad. And then people say, oh, he was just kidding. No, he's not. He's not kidding. And it's not okay even for him to be kidding, but he's not. He now wants to buy Greenland. Well, Greenland isn't for sale. Greenland has no desire to become a territory of the United States, but he's claiming that the United States needs Greenland. See, it's this shortest space between North America and Europe. And he wants it as a strategic interest. They're independent, but I guess they're a territory of Denmark right now. They're not for sale. They don't want to be a part of us. They don't want to give it to Trump or to the United States. But he's openly talking about this, like he's just going to take the territory. And they say, well, we had to because it's in the best interest of the United States because we want that easy access to Europe, North America to Europe. Who does that sound like? That's Putin going into Ukraine, first taking Crimea. and then going full in a couple years ago. That's what's happening. So Trump means it. He means this. And he intends to do something that no American president has ever done. I mean, this is the type of thing that Vladimir Putin does. And Trump isn't kidding. He's letting us know what he intends to do. And again, I think he's waiting to see if he gets any pushback from Republicans in Congress. And I think whatever he does, the big egregious things he's going to do quickly and immediately, and it'll be chaos so that everybody's caught off guard and they can't stop him. And before we know it, we are going to be living in a country where our leader is forcibly taking over other countries and territories and the territories of other countries just because he can, because he wants to. He is saying that he wants to take back the Panama Canal because he doesn't like us paying the fees. The real reason is that he's evading taxes in Panama for one of his properties, one of his entities. And they're coming after him to pay your taxes. Well, Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes. So he's telling Panama, we're going to take back the canal just because we want to, just because I want to, because I can. And it's no coincidence that this kind of talk is happening just out of the blue when they're coming after Trump for evading taxes there. This is what's happening. He will do this. Do you think that he's talking like this about 3 different countries so far? Just for the fun of it? Without intent to actually go in and take them? Take the Panama Canal? Take Canada? Take Greenland? What's next? He wants to get rid of Puerto Rico. He didn't even know that they were a territory of the United States when he was president before. Remember, he said he met with the president of Puerto Rico. Hey, idiot, you're the president of Puerto Rico. And they were hit with the hurricane. He didn't want to send any funding to them. They're us. He didn't value them. He sees no value. So he was going to let them just die. And if you think that he's not willing to let people die or to otherwise cause their death, think again. Think again. As we've talked about before, I brought this up, I think, a few weeks ago. It was Greg Olear on my podcast who made the point that with Trump wanting to do this massive roundup of undocumented migrants, he will put them in camps because where are you going to take them? What are you going to do with them? Who's going to pay for this? There's nowhere to send them. There's nowhere for them to go. And Greg Olear compared it to the little problem that Hitler had with Poland. Remember, they were just going to deport everybody, deport the Jews. Well, that became logistically expensive, impossible, or difficult. So he had a final solution. And as Greg Olear said, don't kid yourself. Trump will do it too. Round everybody up. Round up the undocumented migrants from Mexico. And maybe anybody else he decides he wants to get rid of. He'll just make something up. Oh, you're not documented. Or, he'll just keep adding on the reasons for deportation. Because he's already talking about deporting people, literally forcibly going to get them, apprehending them, and forcing them into camps or whatever we're going to do with them, people who are constitutionally here legally. So he's already talking about doing that. He's just decided that he doesn't agree with that part of that Constitution, the part that protects someone who's born in this country. He's going to get rid of him anyway. So if he's willing to stretch things out, to just keep expanding the definition or the parameters on who's considered deportable, and then, okay, again, who pays for this? How do we pay to deport them? Where do they go? And as Greg Olear said, when there's nowhere to go, he says Trump will utilize the same solution that Hitler did, Poland. Don't think this can't happen here, because if you go back just a few years, who would have thought that that what's happening with Trump now could ever happen? Who would have thought that we could have a Department of Justice that would let him off the hook for treason? Who would have thought that a Democratic administration would have an AG, Merrick Garland, who could allow this to happen? But he did. But he did. It allowed Trump to run again. And once Trump was able to run again, we are a 50-50 nation. It was automatic that he would be the nominee. And if you're the nominee, you're already close to that 50% mark. So then you have to, well, you can only cheat if it's close. And yes, I do think he cheated. He and Elon Musk and Putin. I think we all know he did. So once that happened a couple of years ago, that was the beginning of the end for us. When we crossed that line that we didn't think was possible to cross. But Merrick Garland was doing nothing. He was too busy going after Hunter Biden. And that's how this happened. Now Trump is scarier than ever, because now he's like, it's like he's got a beehive in his bonnet. He's mad. He's mad that any of this happened to him. And he should be in prison right now. And when we saw Merrick Garland, we never would have even known that there was the so-called raid at Mar-a-Lago, that we wouldn't have known that there were stolen documents had Trump himself not told us. Merrick Garland was trying to handle it quietly. And he was getting pressure from other entities, from some in the FBI and with the National Archives, saying, this is dangerous. Trump is holding on these documents. He's not giving them back. We have to go in and get them. Merrick Garland didn't really want to do that. But he did. And it was Trump who told the world, I'm being raided. Because Merrick Garland was never going to tell us, which makes me wonder what other Trump crimes were committed. Treason that Merrick Garland is hiding, for which Trump will never be held accountable. I'm sure there are others. We know that New York law enforcement for years, for decades, let Trump off the hook. We know that he buys off lawyers, judges, union bosses, you know. I mean, this has been going on forever. This isn't new, only now he's allowed to do this on the macro level with huge global impact. This next Trump presidency will be far more scarier and deadly to this country than his first one was. And his first one gave us COVID, gave us a pandemic where hundreds of thousands of people died who didn't have to. But because of him, they did. And we've forgotten all about that. I don't know what's going to happen once he's sworn into office, but this notion of this man is so, he just wants revenge and death and bloodshed so much right now that his Christmas message, that was some scary stuff. That is where, you know, family members should immediately take you to the psych ward. And instead, on January 20th, he's going to be sworn in as our 47th president. And then I guess he will start making good on some of the statements and desires that he's already expressed, including forcibly taking, invading other countries and territories. Again, remember, he and Putin are buddies. They talk all the time, just like Elon Musk and Putin talk all the time. By the way, both in violation of the Logan Act, but Merrick Garland doesn't care. We'll just let that go, right? It's scary. It's scary. But hang in there. I think it's just important that we keep up on this stuff so that we're not caught flat-footed. I think Trump is hoping that everybody doesn't pay attention, that we're caught flat-footed, so that nothing can be done to stand up against him. And I don't know right away what it is that we can do to stand up to him, but I know it has to start with keeping tabs on what he's doing and understanding that he means it.